All right, Spartan fans, I am Guy Danhoff. I'm here with Coach B. Coach, where do you start, right?
Yeah.
Let's just paint a picture for the Spartan fans. In your first two games, heading into the fourth quarter, in the very first game against Lyon, you were trailing only 9-7. And this past week, going to about the 12-minute mark in the fourth quarter, the score was tied 7-7. Now we know that didn't certainly turn out the way you wanted, but what's been your reaction to knowing that you're going into the fourth quarter with every opportunity? This team right now could be 2-0.
Yeah, it's kind of mixed emotions, that we talked to the team about. On one hand, we've put 6 really good quarters together, but then, right. The fourth quarter of both ball games is obviously the most important time in a ball game. And what we talked about on Monday is one of the things we really try to push for as a team and as a unit, just so they understand is, everything we're trying to do is to get to the fourth quarter with an opportunity to win.
Right.
And, that could look a lot of different ways. That could be, maybe we're ahead going in maybe by 7 or 10 points, or maybe we're down 10 or 14 points, but, it's an opportunity to win with 15 minutes on the clock. And in both games, we've put ourselves in that position.
Absolutely.
And, so from on that standpoint, there's a lot to build off, a lot of excitement from that on that end. But, where we are as coaches, where this football team is, there's a lot of not being satisfied, because we know what could be kind of playing the woulda, shoulda, coulda game, and,
right.
and that doesn't do much, in the long run. But just kind of telling them that if we get a couple details cleaned up, that things can go in our favor, and that's what we've been working on a lot this week.
Right. So, Coach, first of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come in this week and literally sit through a pretty long film session with your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So that was pretty enlightening, and we are going to talk about that, because I think we look from weeks 1 to 2. I mean, there were some really glaring things that were drastically improved that you talked about in last week's show, and one was hydration was not a problem. Number 2, in the pregame, you guys were fired up. And talk a little bit about the guest speaker you had, because Nicole reported on the air about the fist.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty interesting story. But let Spartan fans know a little bit about that pregame, because I'll be honest with you, you guys came in, business is ready. It was great to see. Again, forget what happened a week before. You guys came with the mindset to play.
Yeah, going into the week, that was a big deal. We weren't on the Saturday of the Lion game, for whatever reason, we just weren't as buttoned up as what a game day needs to be.
Sure.
That was something that I emphasized to them on that Monday, and we really emphasized it throughout the week, and honestly just kind of had to impose a couple rules and policies, so to speak, just that you don't always think about, but every team's different, and there were some things that we had to get dialed in. They were completely businesslike on Saturday, from the moment we showed up for a pregame meal and meetings, and took the entire day just exactly as they need to, from a professional standpoint. I thought they were ready to play. Obviously, Santa Heights is a good football team, and we battled them hard. You mentioned the pregame speaker. I was blessed. We as a team were blessed. My college roommate and best friend, who was a first-round draft choice back in the 2003 draft, came in town to visit and watch us play and be a part of it. And he said something to me on the sideline during warm-ups about the one thing that God teaches us is that we as individuals are like our fingers, and he made mention to a finger can be easily dislocated, easily broken, together or separately we're weak, but when you ball it up into a fist, it becomes strong.
Right.
And he said, so go punch him in the face and go fight, and I said, man, that's awesome. Now come over and tell the guys, so he did, and I think the guys just, again, they responded, and this team has really responded to everything we've asked them to do, and we'll get there. We'll get over the hump, and they understand, I believe, how talented they are and how good they can be. But they're also learning the lesson of hard work, and that it just isn't through talk. You actually got to go out and put the work in, and they're doing that.
Right. Well, I'm glad you shared that story, because I can say this: you guys were fired up and ready to go. And again, from looking at the film, I know on some of these stats, they certainly don't favor you, and certainly, I'm not going to talk about too many of them. But there is a however. The however is, even though I know you guys struggled rushing overall, with only the net of being 48 yards. But what you really didn't see was the fact that, again, Kendall went down, had some sort of, leg or ankle injury, which you can comment on in a second. You brought in Chris Baldwin from College of DuPage. He ran with a lot of intensity. And the other thing I saw from watching the film, is it was taking at least 2 to 3 guys to tackle him, but when he was going down, he was falling forward. I'm going to say a majority of the time. So from your perspective, what's it been like having Chris in the lineup?
Well, having Chris in the lineup's big. We talked about that going into the Lion game, of that not having him,
right,
was potentially going to affect some things, because Jordan, is doing a good job, and having Kendall, but Chris brings a lot of that tenacity between the tackles. He has fallen forward all the time.
Yep.
We saw that throughout training camp. So having him out there was a big plus, and then obviously losing Kendall and having that second back that could really give us some good yards with him and Jordan, and not falling off that much is huge.
Right.
So Chris did a great job. Jordan did a great job. The biggest thing that we saw in film is just getting some little details cleaned up at the running back position about our vision, where are we looking for, and a little bit in our path that we're taking as we're approaching the line of scrimmage, and getting that cleaned up is going to benefit the offensive line as well. I think some of what we were doing is we were jumping out of the cut a little bit too quick and not allowing the offensive line to set up the block and make the block. So that patience as a running back is key, and it's something that we've stressed this week, and we will continue to stress. And I think, again, when you watch the film, there's plays that are there that instead of getting, a big gain, we're getting a 2 or 3 yard gain. And ultimately, this game, you've got to have big plays at some point. You're not going to go 3 yards in a cloud of dust for 80 yards all the time. So, we get those cleaned up, and I really think we'll be able to get things dialed in and go.
Well, I was going to ask you what the mood's been like, but I actually got a chance to talk to a couple of your other coaches first. And it was great to hear that actually you guys had a lot of fun yesterday, especially on one of the big cutbacks that you were just talking about. Because I think you guys have been, again, according to Coach Williams, you guys are being a little more patient now with some of those cutbacks, and they're there, and you guys were hitting some of them, and it really brought a lot of life back to the team. Like, you guys see it in film. I know you've been sitting down with them in the film, but now they actually execute it down in practice, and obviously now they have to go to the game. Yeah. So how's that made you guys feel?
Well, it makes us feel good, obviously. Anytime the guys are confident and they're having fun, it's fun for us. Right. And that's really key. The thing about coaching is that we in a way live through them. It's not fun for us every day to be pulling teeth or having to force them to work hard or whatever. And we're not with this team. There's moments where we've got to encourage them and we've got to get on them. Because they're 18 to 22-year-old young men. But by and large, these guys come to work every day. Yep. And the biggest thing that was exciting for us is that, I felt like they had a little bit of belief in themselves and belief in what we were telling them. Right. When you can see the tangible evidence, I think for any of us, that's key. And even as adults, that's something that we feed off of. I know we all like to have those, the attaboys and stuff. And as an adult, it's equally important. And for young men like them, it's huge. We've got to encourage them, and that's something we talked about. Get the confidence up, and yesterday that they were very, very dialed into what they were needing to do on both sides of the ball. Our execution was high, and I think they saw some of that. But ultimately, we've got to put it together on Saturday, and it's still a work in progress. And, I read them a scripture out of the book of Hebrews about patience, and that God fulfills for us fully through faithfulness and patience. Yes. And sometimes in this world, and I'm no different as a coach, that you start doubting things, you start wanting things to happen immediately, and that's just not how it works. Unfortunately, and as I'm so guilty of this, is that it's not on our timeline. Right. It's on somebody else's timeline. But I told the team yesterday, the one thing I do know to be a truth is that you'll never achieve the goals that you want if you quit working. Right. And they went out and had a great day, and I expect us to have another good day and go battle on Saturday. That's the number one key thing that we can do every week, regardless of who our opponent
Right. Well, with that, I just wanted to throw out a couple of really nice shout-outs. Defense, you guys had 3 turnovers. Really exciting. And you scored off one of them. So, that's always a good thing. I mean, just to see that interception, the offense take it down, and, of course, Chris got the touchdown on that nice run. It was just great to see. I mean, literally on both sides of the ball. Also on the kicking side, this is, I don't know if I'm sure you noticed it, but our Spartan fans probably haven't, so I thought this was kind of an interesting stat. The punting situation, on week 1, you guys were averaging barely 33 yards. This past week, you averaged 43, which is really in line with what you'd expect in this conference. To the opposite end, their punter was only averaging 34. So it's kind of nice to see that. In the kicking game, I know Metzler missed that 44-yarder, but he certainly had the distance.
Yeah.
So you still feel like you can go with Metz?
Yeah. Ethan's a hard worker. He's had a sore leg, and that's what's been kind of holding us up a little bit. His leg's getting better, and then Dominic, he's done a tremendous job, really working hard at punting, knowing that that's an important role, and we've got a couple things fixed in his mechanics, and I think it's starting to pay off for him. But both guys do a great job, and one thing that is really standing out, and Coach Bowden actually printed it off some of my post-game notes from a year ago that he had saved, and I have them in my folder, but he had printed off and gave a copy. And last year after 2 ball games, it was post-game notes from the St. X game, which was our second game, and after that game we were -8 in total turnovers, and we had created a couple turnovers, but overall as a team we were -8, and right now we're plus. The offense has done a great job of taking care of the ball, and ultimately, Chase got sacked a couple times on Saturday, which you never want to see a sack, but it's so much better than a turnover.
Of course.
We'll take that all the time. It's just another year of maturity for Chase, not trying to do something, going down and just saying, okay, I'm going to take the yards, but we're going to hang on to the ball. And those things add up because it keeps us in ball games. And ultimately, that's what we were able to do the first 2 weeks. And I expect that the defense will come out and play well, and our offense will start getting a little bit more momentum going.
All right, so with it, to catch our Spartan fans up, so St. X, your opponent this week, they started the season with Marion, and that was a complete dominating blowout. Again, Marion has come back, obviously. They missed the playoffs last year. St. X made the playoffs, so you can imagine there's maybe a little bit of a grudge match there. Maybe some of the score was maybe inflated. I don't know, I'm just postulating here. But then last week, St. X went to play against a Division 1AA team, Illinois State, which happens to be ranked 20th. And so they lost 46-0, and they had about 30 yards of total offense. And so now here it is. The Spartans are 0-2. They're 0-2. You're heading guys up to Chicago. You got a night game in their house. And what have you told your team to prepare for that environment?
We haven't talked much about it. I did tell them that it'll be a great environment. It's been a long time. I think 2009 maybe was the last time that I was up at St. Xavier. It was for a playoff game when I was at McKendree, and it was a rocking atmosphere. They do a great job of filling the stands, get the music going, and Coach Feminist, I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for him ever since I met him. When we competed against St. Xavier when I was at McKendree, he does a great job. He's got tough guys. They're fast. They're physical. He's got an established program, and obviously guys in his situation that have been there for a long time, him, Kevin Donnelly, that are 2 coaches in our league, they have really built the program, and they've built it to a level that we hope to someday. And of course, I have a ton of respect for both those guys. But bottom line is that we just got to go and compete. Anytime the lights turn on, it makes it a lot of fun, and it'll be a fun environment. That's what this game is all about. So we just got to be ready to play and take care of what we do.
Well, I think you guys will be ready to play. And bottom line is, you're both 0-2. Don't get me wrong. They're a great team. Just to let Spartan fans know, they're actually preseason NAIA number 6 in the country. And I guess the next poll doesn't come off till next week. So again, you're playing against one of the powerhouses in the league. But it sounds like that you guys are mentally now ready to go up and compete. And that's really all you can ask of your team.
Well, it's hard to say, with young guys, especially like we have, you never know how they react. But, this week they've really bounced back.
Right.
You know, we had a great Saturday. You know, and how they brought it on game day, and I see growth, and that's the biggest thing. So, you know, we're just going to keep encouraging them and you know, fine tuning what we expect out of them.
Right. All right, so they got one thing, a programming note for certainly the Spartan fans. You can go to www.mbuspartans.com and you can watch the live stream. We will not be hosting the broadcast, they will, but it will be there available if you go to where you always would go to see a Spartan Digital Network game. I talked to Anna beforehand, so that link will be there. The game time will be 6 o'clock Central Time on Saturday. And then I got one last thing, Coach, and I'm not sure how I get this stuff, but what am I going to do? I guess I have to read this. I can't make this stuff up. I'll probably show it to you guys, let you guys see this. As you guys know, Coach B went to Colorado. His offensive coordinator / offensive line coach, Keith Williams, went to Nebraska. And I get this thing that says, "Go Big Red, Nebraska beating Colorado." What do you think?
It's not happening. You know,
So would you like to throw that away?
Huh?
Would you like to throw that
No,
away?
I'll show it. I know the camera wanted us a little closer.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll do this. I'll say, "Go Buffs." Okay.
All right, Spartan fans, there you have it. Just having a little fun. We so love our alma maters, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Hey, this is the biggest rivalry, and we don't get it every year. So we get it this year. We got to go to stinking Lincoln. But I guarantee you, when we're in Golden Corral, that the game will be on our phone, and the Big Red is going down.
Right. All right, for Coach B, I am Guy Danhoff, and tune in at 6 o'clock on Saturday on the Spartan Digital Network.